Welcome everybody to this channel. Let me introduce myself to you all. My name is Evril and this is day 2. Oh, not day 2, it's just part 2. Part 2, but oh yeah, it's because my day 1 has a part 2, so I cannot say this part 2. I only could say this is a day 2, okay? So yeah, welcome to day 2 where I learn Roblox Studio. So yeah, welcome to day 2. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. What the fuck? Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna test this. Sorry.
Everyone,
Okay, welcome to everybody. I wanna welcome to everybody first who watch live or replay for today for this video. I will be here until 3 a.m. maybe. Okay, and then yeah, we going to start learning again about Roblox Studio until could make a single game in 2 months maybe, if I could do that from scratch.
Drive one. Hit that follow button. For you, Angel.
No, about her. You know about him. He started 10 years ago. His YouTube started 10 years ago, right? 12 years ago. Okay, I cannot complain about anything, but yeah. Okay, if you guys doesn't know, yeah, before we start the learning session, I wanna say thank you for live. This is my what is his day? What is his day? Say like this person is my idol. Is my idol of Roblox Studio. Because why? Because he could make a physics engine by himself in Roblox Studio. Yeah, he made his own physics engine in Roblox Studio. Yeah, that's crazy, right? So yeah. Oh, so this is one of the game that he made. How much play right now? I think it's 0. I could say 0. No, it's not 0 though. Oh, it's 115 right now. Okay. Oh, it's like a tower defense. Like some tower defense games. I could say that I need to learn more faster than I should, because I need to learn all this basic stuff before it hits 1 month of learning. So yeah, let's get into it. We back to Brawl Dev again to learn all of this stuff again. I learned about GUI. I want to know about React AI. This is a primarily for interaction modern front-end development artificial intelligence. So it's like making a website, but you are using AI. Maybe it's something like that. Application in Roblox. Okay, can I change the I could change this to another stuff. Yeah. React AI. Got it. React. What is React agent? Because I see one of the live Roblox. Okay. Maybe later, yeah. In some days. Fuck. Saying that shit. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I cannot talk anything. And yeah, I'm sorry if I I talking some nonsense, yeah, because I'm too tired to doing all of this stuff. And yeah, I hope you still enjoy the show or something. Because I see one of his video, he's talking about a React. Stop building UI, something like this. Yeah.
The UI node.
Let's watch this.
This entire
Let's watch
UI
this
is
because
built in
we
React
get
and Laravel.
into Brawl Dev tutorials.
A declarative UI framework. The UI isn't built using Spring GUI as an instance.
I'm still confused why Emma talking nonsense. Why? My mouth is so, I don't know. It's just talking nonsense. I don't know why. But yeah,
This is just code.
So yeah.
In this video, I'll show you exactly how to do this in your own Roblox game. React Luau is Roblox's version of React, which is the same way used to build web apps, but for Roblox UI. This video is for developers who are already comfortable with Luau and basic UI and want a more scalable way to build complex systems. We're not going to cover the full Roho/Rolley setup, but if you are interested in that, check out my previous tutorial.
Oh yeah, I already watched the Roho and VS Studio
React
stuff.
is a declarative library. That means when state changes, your UI is automatically updated based on the new values. Because our UI will now be created in code, we can easily create reusable components whenever needed. In this example, the menu component is used to create two distinct menus based on the passed-in properties. Start by downloading React and React Roblox packages from Wally, or by directly inserting them into Roblox Studio if you're not using VS Code. Next, we need to mount the actual React tree. So I'm going to create a function here that will essentially just create a screen GUI that we're actually going to parent all of the React instances to. After our containers are made, we have to call the React Roblox create root function, and we pass in that screen GUI container. As for our actual React app, we will create an element, and I'm just going to leave it blank for now, but we'll come back to that later. And then just call root rendered and pass it out. Don't forget to actually call the mount function by just calling it on client script. You can put your UI code wherever you'd like. Create the root UI module. Typically, this root UI will hold all of our top level screens, but for now, we're just going to do a text label as an example. So I'm going to use the React create element function and have a text label be created and pass in a couple properties here.
What the fuck is this?
Now that I've created the text label element, we can pass in the root UI module to that mount module we made earlier. And that's actually all we need. So if you go to Studio and click play, you should see our text label here that we created purely using code and using React. Amazing. If you look under your player GUI, you should see a React screen GUI there with our text label as a child. I know that was a lot of work just to make a simple text label, but I promise it gets a lot better than that. Now let's break down what the React create element is actually doing and take it a step further. React create element is how elements are created. It's important to note that React elements are not Roblox instances. React elements are a lightweight description of a UI node, not an instance. The first parameter is the type. This could be a string, which is just pointing to a Roblox instance, or it could be a component that you define. The second parameter is a table of instance properties, which will describe how that element will look. Later, we will create components with custom properties, like scale. The third parameter and any parameter after that is for any children that your element may have. This could be a single element or a table of elements. It's common practice to create a variable e that is an alias for a React create element. This ends up just making the code look a lot cleaner.
Okay.
Let's start our example by creating a menu component. We're going to create our alias e and create this menu function and just simply return it. Inside a menu, we're going to have a frame that we're going to give a couple properties: size, anchor point, and position for now. Next, we will add children to the frame. So to do that, we're just going to create a table in the second parameter, as I stated earlier. We're going to start by adding a UI corner, as you can see here. Next, we're going to add a stripe clipper, like this. And finally, let's add a text label. Any properties you don't fill out will just be defaulted to whatever is the default. And this is going to be our menu component. Back in our root UI script, let's use that menu component that we just created. And then if you hop back into Studio, you should now see our menu component that we have created using React. Now, static component isn't always the most useful, so we can add some customization to it. I'm going to create a props parameter here that we passed into our menu component and add a couple of properties that our menu can now accept. I'm going to define the type menu props here, like so. And then instead of hard coding exact properties, we're going to actually use our props that are then passed in and set our values to the corresponding properties. Then back when we actually use the component in our root UI, we just create a property table like we do any other component, just using the properties that we just created.
I don't understand.
And then back in Studio, when we click play, you can now see that our menu is using the properties that we just defined. Now, a huge benefit of declarative UI is being able to instantly load and interact with UI as it's being created without having to play the game. To do this, we need to install a storybook plugin. Most people use UI Labs, so start by downloading the UI Labs plugin from the toolbox in Studio. Then we need to create a story script for the plugin to write from. In their simplest form, stories are simply a function that does some action, which then returns a cleanup function. In this example, let's create the React root and then return our cleanup function, which unmounts the root. The storybook plugin will automatically pass in a parent to the function, so that's why I put it as the first parameter here. Then, back in Studio, open the UI Labs plugin and select the story we just created. Now, our React UI will be created and updated in real time. We can add new property for position to our menu props here and set it in our actual component. And again, it's being automatically updated. To create multiple menus, we can simply pass in a table of menus rather than just returning one menu, and we can individually change their properties to make them unique. It's worth noting that generally you don't want to just return a plain table. You actually want to wrap it inside of a React fragment. You probably won't have issues just returning a table, although using the React fragment is the correct way to do this. Now that building UI visuals has been covered, let's introduce state into this system. Simple UL values are not enough when using a declarative approach, so React has its own state system, using the useState hook. useState returns two variables, the first being the raw value, and the second being a function used to update the value. The initial value should also be passed in as the function's parameter. Let's create a simple counter using React state. I'll start by creating a counter and set counter variables with an initial condition of 0. An incrementer function has been created, which utilizes set counter by adding 1 to the current count. Then we create our actual UI element. Notice how we directly set the text to counter. Finally, we hook up the activated event to the increment function. Let's try and visualize this now. On screen, there is the white text button and our counter variable. When the activated event is fired, the increment counter function will then be called, which then is calling the set counter function, which internally causes a re-render in the React node. This will cause the text to be updated to the new counter variable. Now let's put the counter state into our menu component. I'm going to create the counter and set counter variables by using React useState. And then I'm going to create this text button here and use the counter variable with the text. And then instead of making a dedicated function just for incrementing, I'm just going to directly write it in the element itself. And then if we go back to Studio and look at our UI labs, you'll now see that we have our buttons working that are counting and keep track of state. Sometimes a component needs to do something outside of rendering, like connecting to an event, turning a timer, or listening to game state. That's where useEffect comes in. useEffect lets you run code after React updates the UI and clean it up when the component changes or unmounts. The first parameter is a function. Inside this function, you can do pretty much whatever you want. You can subscribe to an event, start a timer, really whatever. Typically, these operations come with some kind of cleanup needed. So within this function, you actually return another function that does the cleanup operations. Additionally, useEffect takes a second parameter. This parameter is any state dependencies that the effect may use. So if our useEffect uses some state that's defined outside of it, then we must pass it into the dependency array. If the useEffect does not have any state dependencies, then we can just simply use a blank table. If no dependency array is defined, then every re-render, the useEffect will be called again, which is not what you want. Now let's use effect in a real example. So back in our menu component, I'm going to, instead of just returning the menu, I'm going to create a function that will decide if the menu should show or not. So I'm going to create the state shown, and then I'm going to use the React useEffect and listen to when the F key is pressed on the keyboard. When the F key is pressed, we are going to set shown to whatever the opposite of it is. So it'll just toggle it on or off. And since this is a connection, we need to make sure that we clean it up. So I'm going to clean it up in the return function. And then using that shown state that we had before, you're just going to conditionally create React tools. Update often, grab properties to be directly updated without needing a React re-render. Similarly to state, React bindings are incredibly useful.
Oh my god.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. In this episode of my Roblox Advanced Scripting tutorial series, I'm going to be talking about tools. Now, I think you pretty much know what tools are. Almost every single Roblox game you can think of has tools in some sort of way. They're basically items for players to be able to equip from their backpack or their inventory and use them. So things like weapons or tools or any other sorts. Something that's equipable that players can use to further progress through the game that they're playing. And that's what we're about to be creating in this episode. But before we do, there's going to be some things we need to understand first. Alright, let's think about this for a minute. So I just hit playtest here at Roblox Studio, and there's going to be a few things I want you to know about before we start creating tools. So on the right side, if we open up Explorer, we can see everything that's contained inside of the Explorer. But one thing in particular is our own character. Because obviously when the player joins the game, there's going to be a clone of the player's character from the website and be put into the workspace because, that's how we can actually see ourselves inside of the game. If we open this up, we can actually see that there's a whole bunch of stuff that make up our character. We have shirts, pants, we have a bunch of accessories. I can actually take some of these accessories off, like my glasses, for instance. I just deleted that, and now you can see my glasses are gone. So everything here basically makes up my character inside the workspace. We also have certain body parts, we have scripts, and a bunch of other stuff. That makes up our player character inside of the game. But not only that, there's another thing. If we scroll down a little bit, we can actually see that there's a folder called Players. If we open up Players, we can actually see that there is a player instance that basically has the same name as my character up here, Brawl Battle. This is the character inside of the workspace. But this is the player instance. And if we open this up, we can see that there's 4 things here. There's backpack, starter gear, player GUI, and player scripts. We're mostly going to be focused on these 2 here for this episode, backpack and starter gear. So in essence, there's 2 things that happens when a player joins the game. One is that their character gets copied and put into the workspace whenever our player joins the game. The second thing is that a player instance is created and put inside of the player's folder inside of the game with a bunch of other stuff. So this is something I wanted you to be aware of when we start creating tools. All right, now that we understand that, let's create a tool. But you might ask, where do we create this tool? Do we create it in workspace? Do we create it in players? No, we actually create it inside of another folder inside of the game called Starter Pack. And essentially what Starter Pack is that this is the default backpack ideally filled with tools where when the player joins the game, and it doesn't matter which player it is because all players will share the same starter pack. And so any tools that are put inside of the starter pack will be put inside of the player's backpack in the game no matter what. Whether they join the game for the first time or whether they reset their character, these tools that are in the starter pack will be copied over to the player's backpack. And this is how it's going to be for the entirety of the game. So we're going to create a tool by clicking on the plus sign next to starter pack. And you can see that there is a tool right here. So let's click that. And now we've created our first tool instance placed inside of the starter pack. So if we look at our tool and we like hit test and hit play, now that we're in the game, we can see that down here, the tool is shown. If we click on it, nothing exactly happens because we didn't make the tool do anything yet. It's just an empty tool instance. But if we go on the right side with our player and look into our backpack, we can actually see that our tool is displayed inside of here as expected, because everything that's inside of the starter pack from Roblox Studio, like this tool, it gets copied over to every single player's backpack, and that's basically where the tool lies. But now let's look at some properties for the tools. The first thing we'll look at is tooltip, and this is essentially a text that displays on top of the tool whenever you hover over the item, giving you like a little bit of information about it. I will show you what I mean, but for right now, let's just select this and let's put in something. Let's give it a description by saying this is a tool. So now that we have that in there, I'll show you what it looks like inside of the game after a little bit. But let's look into another property called texture ID. So if you notice when we were playing the game, our tool was displayed at the bottom of the screen down here, but all it showed was the text tool, which was the name of the tool. But what if we wanted to show an image instead of the name of the tool? This is where texture ID comes in. Now you might ask, how do we actually get a texture ID and where do we get images from? So that is going to be through the toolbox, which can be accessed from up here when you click view, and then there should be a toolbox right over here. If we click that, we can actually see that we have a huge marketplace catalog filled with user-generated content that's been uploaded to the Roblox website, in which you can actually take some of these and put it inside of your game. Now, I would generally advise not using the toolbox because a lot of these things have backdoor scripts that can hack the game or modify the game to something that you don't want. All kinds of security issues, which is why I would generally advise not to use the toolbox. But for the sake of this tutorial, we are going to use it. Okay, but now in order to get our texture ID, we need an ID from an image. And to get an image, we click on this drop down here and we click on images. So this gives us a whole bunch of images to work with that's been uploaded to by the Roblox community. So if we just take one of these, let's take this super happy face, for instance. We're going to right click it, and then we're going to click on copy asset ID. And then on the right side, on our texture ID, let's select this. Let's right click and then we'll say paste and then we'll hit enter. So essentially we got the ID of the image and we've now put it onto here, the texture ID. So we should be able to see it in our game. If we go to test and we go to play, we should see these 2 changes with the tooltip and also the texture ID. So the first thing you notice if we join in is that our tool now doesn't display the name of the tool anymore, but instead our image, because we gave the texture ID an ID of the image. If we hover over it, we can actually see that it displays a text on top of it saying, this is a tool. This was our tooltip that we provided for the tool. So those are two pretty cool things. If we equip and unequip it, nothing still happens because we didn't, actually make it do anything yet. Now let's create a handle so that we can actually show that the player is holding something whenever they equip the tool. So if we go to our model tab, hit parts so that we create a new part inside of the workspace, there's going to be two very important things we need to do. The first thing is if we click on the part and then go down here to the properties, make sure that anchored is set to false so that it's turned off. The reason for this is because we don't want the part to be stuck in place whenever the game is running. We want it to be affected by gravity. And then the second thing we have to do is rename this part to a very specific name. We're going to click on this, and then we're going to name it handle with a capital H. And now what we'll do is we'll take this part, we will drag it into our tool here inside of our starter pack. And basically what we're doing is we're telling Roblox that this is now a part that we want to display on the player's hand whenever the tool is equipped. Let's equip our tool. So down here, let's click on it. We should see that we now have the part which we called handle that was set as a child to the tool is now equipped for us. And so basically our hand is stuck out whenever a tool is equipped, and we see the part like very clearly. We unequip it, and then the part is gone. If we equip it again, we can see it. If we unequip it, it's gone. Now, let's actually see what happens in the Explorer whenever we equip and unequip the tool. So I'm going to open up the workspace and players. Let's open up our player and our backpack as well. And let's open up our character. Remember when I said that our character in the workspace makes up what we actually see in the workspace? We can see that when we don't have the tool equipped, it's inside of our player's backpack here. But if we equip it, we can actually see that the tool moved from our backpack into our own character. The tool is now part of our character. If we unequip it, we can actually see that the tool moved back into our backpack. So that's a really interesting thing to note about. Here's two more properties to know about. If we scroll down a little bit, we can see that there's a scale property and a can be dropped property. The scale property basically just sets the size of the tool itself, specifically the handle. If we just change this to, let's say, 1.5, then it increases the scale of the tool. We can change it to 2. We can even make it smaller than the default by saying 0.5. So that's like a little neat thing to know about. Another property is can be dropped, and this is basically a check to see whether the player can actually get rid of this item from their backpack. And on PC or desktop or computer or whatever, the key to actually dropping an item is the backspace button. So if we have it equipped and we press backspace, we can actually see that the part is now located inside of the workspace and is not a child to my character anymore. But if I pick it back up, it goes back into my character. Now, if I quickly go to the tool and uncheck can be dropped and make sure we're not selecting tool inside of the workspace, so like down here, if we try pressing backspace now, it does not work. And that's because we set can be dropped to false. These are two additional properties that I'm just going to throw out there. Now let's actually script our tool. So on our tool, we're going to click on the plus sign, and then we're going to create a script. Now remember, it's important to note the difference between script and local scripts. I made a video talking about local scripts, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to use a script so that it'll be replicated to all players. I generally would not advise doing this unless there's clear communication between the server and the client, but we're not going to go over that in this episode. So we've just created a script inside of a tool. Let's delete this code here. And let's first make reference to the tool. So we're going to say local tool equals script.parent. And so in this episode, I'm going to be going over 4 events that I think are going to be pretty useful for tools. The first one is going to be equipped. So we'll say tool.equipped, and we're going to say connect function. We're going to hit enter. And first thing we'll do is we'll make a print statement. We'll say print, this tool has been equipped. So we've just created our first event, and this will basically run every time the player equips the tool. So now let's do the same thing, but this time we'll unequip it. So we'll drop 2 lines down here, and then we'll say tool.unequipped connect function. We're basically just going to do the exact same thing here. Print this tool has been unequipped. Now let's go to the game, hit test, hit play. You know the usual. So make sure you have your output down here so that we can actually see the change happening. When we equip the tool, we can see that the output has printed this tool has been equipped. And if we unequip it, we can see that this tool has been unequipped. And so we could just continuously do this every time we equip and unequip the tool. So we basically did exactly what we wanted it to do. All right, but now there's 2 more events that we'll be going over, and that's going to be activated and unactivated. So activated is basically an event that triggers whenever the player clicks on the left mouse button of their mouse if they're playing on PC. But I believe in other devices, it's tapping the screen if you're on mobile, and I think it's right trigger on Xbox if I'm not mistaken. So basically, whenever you interact with the tool after equipping it. So we'll say tool.activated connect function, and then do the same thing here with the syntax. We will say print tool has been activated. And so we will also do the same thing down here when it becomes deactivated. So deactivating is basically when you let go of the activation button, whichever one it was, whether that was the left mouse button, right trigger, or tapping on the screen. So we'll say tool.deactivated connect function, and then we will say print tool has been deactivated. So now we have our 4 events here. Let's go into the game and then test it. So first thing we're going to do is equip it. We'll see that the tool's been equipped. Now let's try activating it. So I'm on PC, so the button to activate it is going to be the left mouse button. So if I hold my left mouse button, we can see that it printed out saying the tool has been activated. But if I let go of my mouse, then it will activate the deactivation. Tool has been deactivated. If I just click, we can see that it very quickly activated and deactivated, because activating happens whenever you actually press down on the key, but then deactivating happens when you let go. There's actually 2 more properties here in the behavior category called manual activation only and requires handle. So requires handle is basically like, okay, we have a tool, but we don't need it to have a handle when we want to use this tool. So if we right-click our tool and then duplicate it, and we open up this one. Let's also rename this to tool 2 so that we don't get confused with it. Let's actually delete this handle. So now we have a tool that doesn't have a handle, meaning when our player equips this tool, nothing will show as like a physical object when the player equips a tool, but we can still activate it and run the script without having an actual handle. So we can actually disable this. And if we go into the game, we should still be able to activate it. So I believe it's going to be our second tool. As you can see, our player does not hold out his hand to equip something because we deleted the handle. But we can still see that the script is still working just fine without the handle. So that's like one useful thing to know about for that. And then the other property is manual activation only. So if we activate this, like if we set it to true, that means that whenever we equip the tool, we cannot activate it automatically when our player decides to do it by like left mouse clicking or right triggering or tapping on the screen. We can only have activation happen through script. So I'll show you an example of how this would actually work. So if we go to our tool 2 and then click on the script, let's delete this one so that's a little easier to read. Let's make it so that as soon as we equip the tool, let's activate the activated event here. So we're going to drop a line here from equipped, and we're going to say tool, and since this is a function, we're going to say : activate. So this basically artificially simulates what would happen if the player clicks and activates the tool, because we don't want it to happen automatically. This is going to happen manually. So as soon as we equip the tool, it's going to automatically activate it without the player actually doing it, because now the player cannot activate it on their own. So if we equip our second tool, we can see that the tool's been equipped and the activated event has also been triggered because as soon as we equipped our tool, it set off the activated event on its own. And if I try to activate the tool, it's not going to work. Instead, all it's going to do is trigger the deactivated one because that property inside of our tool was specifically designed for activation, not deactivation. There's actually one final thing I forgot to mention, and that is starter gear. Essentially, starter gear is basically the starter pack, but if it was specific to an individual player. So some players could spawn in every time they reset their character with a certain set of tools that is only specific to that player. Or maybe if someone is in a specific team, they will spawn into the game with specific tools that other teams or other players cannot start out with. And let me show you how this is done really quickly. So if I select my tool on the starter pack and I right click and duplicate it, let's call this tool 2, and I'm actually going to get rid of the texture ID so that we can see the difference between tool 1 and tool 2. I'm going to drag this into replicated storage. And now let's play the game. So now I'm in the game. As you can see, I've opened up my players so that starter gear is over here. And if I open up replicated storage, my tool should be here as well. Here's something that's really important to know about though. Inside of the test ribbon, I'm going to click on the current window that we're in. I'm going to click it so that we can go to the server instead. If I open up the players, my player with its starter gear, and I go to replicated storage with tool 2, I'm going to drag this into starter gear. So now, for the first time, I join into the game with my one and only tool right here that's in my backpack. But if I actually reset my character, then something really interesting will happen. So once I reset my character, I'm now going to have 2 tools down here as a starter rather than 1, because tool 2 was very specifically put inside of my player's starter gear. So now whenever I reset my character, I'm not only going to start off with tool 1, but also tool 2. And if I go back into the server and quickly delete starter gear, I go back into my own client and I reset my character, then I should no longer be able to spawn in with my second tool alongside my first one. So that is another very interesting thing to know about. It's very useful if you want specific players to have specific tools or people in specific teams to have specific tools. And of course, if you want to do this through scripts, then all you have to do is just set the parent of the tool not only to their backpack, but also to their starter gear. So the next time the player resets their character, they're going to have their new tool. Okay, now let's put it all together. And in this last section of the video, I'm actually going to make this a challenge that you can try if you want, or you can follow what I do. There's going to be a few requirements. The 5 requirements that I have for you are, first, play a sound when the tool is equipped. And if you don't know how to play a sound, then that's okay. This step doesn't really matter all too much. The next requirement is to create a boolean to check if the player is holding down activation and change it appropriately. The third requirement is use tool scale to with an argument of whatever number's in there to upscale and downscale the tool when clicking. So this is a special function for tools that allows you to upscale and downscale a tool. And I want you to use that whenever a player clicks and lets go. Next, I want you to use a while loop to constantly change the handle's color until the player lets go. And then finally, the last requirement is I want you to create player stats with an int value called clicks that increments every time the player clicks with the tool. All right, so these are your challenges. You can pause the video to try this out on your own first and then come back here. But
Come on, come on, come on.
we're still going to go through this together. Okay, so on the right side, I'm actually going to delete the second tool so that it... actually test the game. So now we only have one tool. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that every player has player stats, because that's the 5th requirement for this. So on our server script service, we're going to hit the plus sign and we're going to insert a new script. We're going to call this script
Hey guys, fans app is on default. So for instance, you want the app device just be on. Like on your headphones, now on your speakers, you can choose this one. This is my earphones, basically my headphones.
Okay, and things that I learn is tools. Oh yeah. Looking back on the things I've done, I was trying to be. Back on the things I've done. got nothing to hide no more. I don't know if you start, but to show you the shape of my heart. I'm looking back on things I've done. I never wanna play the same old part. Keep you in the dark. Let me take it behind I've done. I was trying to be someone. Now it is showing you. What things I should make in here? Akhirnya aku dapat juga. Nomor bebesi dia. My god, my fucking stuff. Wait a minute, okay guys. Okay, we continue again. So I want to make the handle is like talking shit. Huh? Why it's not showing up? Huh? So we continue again.
I reset tool. Make sure this is in lowercase. Roblox is to be able to actually play this that's playing.
Wait, it's not showing up. Why? What should I do though?
Di Avion, kemanapun kamu pergi atau apapun yang kamu lakukan, tunggangan akan selalu menemani perjalananmu.
The handle. You can actually see that you can now have to be stuck in place. For this, where the game is running, we want it to be effect part to a very handle. Drag it Roblox on the player's hand. We should see that we now have the part which we called handle. Display on the player's hand whenever the tool is equipped. Let's equip our tool. So down here, let's click on it. We should.
Okay, it's working. Okay, it's done. So what's the challenges?
Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to a brand new roblox on the hotspot. Yes. But let's say you wanted to have make the part disappear when someone clicks on it, when someone's avatar walks onto the part for a matter of script.parent. Yeah, so basically this directs, and again, like that no. So now let's say you wanted to make the players be able to walk through the part even when it's not visible. We want part the a corner right now, but we want to insert our leader set, and then we also want our name. So now we want to go down to the description of this video, copy and paste as a respawn time of 5. Keep in mind you can change and walk into this part and will be given 1 coin and a sound will play. As you guys can see, we received 1 point from that and also an audio play. We're going to test that one last time before we go and run through into the part. The audio plays and they have 50 points of life in them. So you can leave it like this if you want the part to stay visible and everything.
How to change the sound? Behave.
Every time they clicks on it, or a ref goes to the parent of the script and sets it to begin. Then we want to put setting true is for audio plays. So if you do collide on the so we want to insert our another audio edit. If I pop which you can see thing in the code because we do.
Where? Oh my god, shut the fuck up, okay? It's not fun. It's not fun. Ah, this one. Okay, it's easy. Okay, job 1 is done. What else? What else would I make? Where is it?
The player lets go.
Boolean to check hold down activation plus check. Use tools and an oversized change to handle and the count. What?
And then finally, the last requirement is I want you to create player stats with an int value called clicks that increments every time the
Ah, I forgot about this one. How to make a player stats. Maybe I have to go back again. Boolean to check hold on. Nice. To check hold on activation plus check. Ah. Grab boolean to check hold on. Script the parent. These tools. Char walk speed. How to make it like user logic, like user logic. Oh, how to make it logic. Lah lah. Hah? Udah script apa? Gimana nih? How? If it's done, it cannot run again. Wait, let me... You could do that shit. Hmm. Uh. Oh, this is kind of suck. Fucking hell! I thought it's something. It's the S stuff, bro. So it just make the... Woo! So fun. So equal to this. Let's increase every time. Okay. What if but we need to learn about boosted. If boosted equals false, then char walk speed is equals to 100. Let's boost. Like this, right? Why though? Why does one run a single time? If boosted equals to false, then char.walk speed equals 100. Boosted equals to. Just wait 1 minute. So if the task was done, one sec, I need to him. Print. Hmm.
Player clicks with the tool. All right, so the challenges you can pause and do is make sure that. So now we're going to create a folder called leader stats. We're going to say local leader stats equals instance.new because we're creating a new folder. We're going to set the leader stats as parent to the player, and then we're going to give it the name leader stats.name equals, and make sure this is in lowercase, leader stats. And now we're going to add our clicks value. So we're going to say local clicks equals instance.new, and this is going to be an int value. So we're going to say int value, and the parent for clicks is going to be inside of the leader stats, and the clicks int value's name will be simply clicks. So now whenever we play the game, we should be able to have a leader stats folder with the value clicks in there. We're going to be using this to record how many clicks the player clicks on the tool. Okay, so now that that's done, let's open up our tools.
I gotta turn off the... How to turn off? I gotta learn this.
Change the handle's color until the player
What the fuck? I will use assistant again after I learn all the stuff, okay? More. Settings. What? Oh my god! Okay. Only continue if the player not boosted. Oh, no. Oh, it's because of this, I guess. Let's see. Okay, it's working. Just working, okay? So, what if I want to with else, using else. Else, what is available? Why? Got nothing asking the player. Yes. Gimana? It's not the player. I asked about the code. Why he asking? I don't understood, bro. Some YouTube art about that.
Welcome. Today we're diving into the fundamentals of basic logic, specifically the and, or, and not operators. These concepts might sound intimidating.
Boolean.
But they're actually quite simple and incredibly useful. They form the backbone of computer science and are also applicable in every values. Binary in this context.
Boolean.
Simplify this logic circuit. This logic circuit contains an OR gate, NOT gates, and
What the fuck?
Pulsa Sarangeo. Tenang, nyaman, apapun pulsa Sarangeo.
0 is, or it corresponds to a circuit being in the off state. 1 corresponds to a circuit being in the on state. So if you're dealing with true and false statements, an off state will be considered false, and the on state will be considered true. If you're dealing with voltage, an off state would have 0 volts, and an on state, typically 5 volts, but something other than 0.
Boolean in algebra. Example.
Now, before we go over and, or, and not gates, let's talk about the buffer gate. So here is the symbol of the buffer gate. And it basically looks like a triangle pointing towards the right. On the left, we have the input. On the right, we have the output. So we're going to call the input A. The output will also be the same. So if we were to make a truth table with the input and the output, if the input is on, which means it has a binary number of 1, the output will also be in the on state. If the input is in the off state, which means it has a binary of 0, the output will have the same binary number of 0 as well. Now let's draw a circuit to represent this. And the principal element of the circuit will be an NPN transistor. This is the base, this is the collector, and this is the emitter. Now we're going to connect this to a power source. And we're also going to use a light emitting diode. Now the light emitting diode is going to represent the output of the circuit. Now let's connect this to a voltage source. So here is the input, which we'll call it input A. And what's going to happen if we apply a voltage to point A? So if the input is in an on state, will the LED will be on or off? Well, once you apply a voltage to the base, the transistor will turn on. Current will flow from the collector to the emitter. And therefore, the LED will be in an on state. So this corresponds to a 1
I don't
for the...
It's not my fucking... Yeah, that's I'm giving a step no. It's right on. It's in Roblox. Is useful in question. This placer have a key. Okay. Ask is true. I kind of blunder in here. Booleans. Bool or true or false condition. Oh my god, it's not done yet, bruh. I don't understood what is this. Here's official documents. The tools. Okay, let's go. It's clicking, holding the tools. So this holding say when the players click, start running this code inside. Okay. Okay. And two. Local chars, create parent humanoids. Isn't like why? Because scripted is not the whole character, it's the humanoid object inside the character. Usually script inside the character, it's human. Okay. Actually, while the tools equip, the tools parent becomes a character. So okay. Means the tools blah 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 intimate humanoids inside the character. The humanoid important because Roblox character use humanoid movement character behavior. Roblox does describe humanoid as an object that gives character models ability to walk around and interact. If boosted equals false. It's the boolean box. It's odds. It's boolean false. If boosted is false, then speed is currently off. If the player is not boosted yet, do the boost code. Important. It means compare. It does not change the value. Compare. It means compares. It's not change the value. Okay, it will compares the boosted that we said that it false compared to false. False compared to false. Set the boosted to false. Set the boosted to false, but means check whether boosted is false. Okay. Are true and false. That condition are usually truly and falsely logic. Okay. Char walk speed 100. It changed the humanoid walking to 100. Since Char is actually humanoid, it means makes the character moves very fast. Roblox say humanoid walk speed default to starter character walk speed. It which is 16 means so it's much faster than normal. Task wait the pause code for 1 second. Say what space is currently given. It's many. Else. This is change the boolean before false. After this line, the boosted equals to true. It changed. The script now remember that the boost is on. It's because the next time you activate the call, the script will not go in the first part anymore. Oh, so it will like when it's the boosted is equal true. If we run this again, it will never be false again because it's true. It's end with true. Yeah. Okay. This is important because else means otherwise. So the logic is if the boost is false, turn the boost on. Otherwise, turn the boost off. In script else runs while the boosted is not false. In the script else runs when the boost is not equals is not false, so it's true. Yeah. Oh yeah. Since the boost is a boolean means boost is true. Line B char walk speed equals to 16. Okay, here's what the management. The change boolean back to false, meaning the script will remember the boost is off. So the next time expect the full, the first brand was around grants. Okay. Discourse price Europe. When the active is to okay. If we click this, get the player humanoid, and if okay, I want to ask this. Why we gotta use if statement when you could just set the box speed instantly without using if statement? Okay, I'm gonna ask that. Okay, let's see what's the answer. Because the setting of lock speed instantly does only does one action, but script wants to know between two action. Roblox docs describes if statement as a code that runs only condition true. Okay. If the booster compare itself. Okay. Walk speed itself is controlled how fast the humanoid walks. Okay, yeah, I know this one. No bones, no if. Meanings when the tool is used, always make the speed. Okay. Okay. If there is no choice, we could just use the walk speed instantly without if statement, right? Means the tools blah 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 tools. Okay, no question at all. Okay, if you decide something, for example, why because false equals to none. Okay, I understood. One by one. So when the tool is active, when we click the tools, it will bring the humanoid, and then if the boost is equals to false, then turn it on. When we click this, it turn it on. It's been like that. Okay, the boost equals to true. Now the boost equals to true. That means the things it's on. Else the char walk speed take me to 16, tax weight goes to false again, and we can run the things again. Okay, I understood. I just need more practice maybe after this, because yeah, I kinda slow by learning all this stuff. So yeah, create a boolean. Yeah. Use a skeletal num for a size change for sender
An int value
and random color. Okay, so 1 check, 2 checks, and then 3 more. Use tool scale num for a size change. Scale to okay, I know. Okay, we make another script again, I guess, because yeah, I gotta run some things again in here, and we gotta how to disable script. We need another script again, and this is called size change. What is this called? Tool scale to okay, we make a statement again like before. Oh shit, maybe after all this stuff I want to try after the advanced scripting, I want to try using AI to make a games. Yeah, because yeah, but before that I need to learn all of this stuff. Wow, let me just use Soka again. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Okay. What? We need the what? We just need script handler tool equals to script dot parents. Okay, and then we make to the tool change laconic active laconic the make function. What is it? What happened to the tools? It will make a tool dot what change size to scale to oh, okay. I need to local equals to local rob handle equals to script dot parents dot handle. So if local handle equals to false, it will be makes the handle if handle equals to false, then it will make the handle size change size scale. Is another variable, okay? Be its size scale to 100, and then tax dot weight 1, and the size is to true, and then else handle oh no, I don't need this. I just gonna say that this 2. Okay, I'm sorry. Scale 2 for size 10. That's it.
So we'll delete this and do how many clip. Roblox has provided us a huge. This should have brought in the audio as a local handle. So play the sound. Tools activated. We will set the value of is holding to true and tool : scale 2 to upscale and down back to 1 once we let go of the inside of our while. 3.0.255 and then math.random to continuously run this line of code, and it's going to crash Roblox Studio. So and now find first value, hit test, actually see that the scale. So this is how you do it, and I think.
Oh, fuck you. Huh? Why? Why it's using tools? Why? Holy shit! No. For a cross check. forgot how to make a player stats. Brawl death.
Welcome back to my Roblox beginners. So things like how long the player's been playing the game for, or other things like the storage, it doesn't really matter. An instance is literally just any object that's inside of the game. So it can be this script, or it could even be this script, or even this script. It can be the spawn location, it could be this model, it could basically just be anything. So we're creating instances and we're putting them inside of the game. And the way we've been doing them is by hitting the plus sign next to wherever we want to create an instance, and then we just search up whatever instance type we want to insert into the game. But what if I told you we can actually create instances within a script so that we can create stuff while the game is running? Because if we were to do it like this, then we can only create instances before the game actually runs. But if we do it inside of a script, we can create instances while the game's running. So I'm going to be showing you how this works inside of Studio really quickly. So I'm just going to create a script inside of Workspace by hitting the plus sign, inserting a script just like this. I'm going to rename this to player stats, like that. And I'm also going to disable the random scripts that we created in the last episode. Just going to delete this. And so the way we create an instance, let's say we want to create a part. We're going to first create a variable by saying local new part equals. And the way we do this is we use what's called instance. So we have an uppercase I, and then we say instance dot new. So this is the constructor we're going to be using to create a new part instance. So we're going to put open and close parentheses, and then inside of here, it takes in a string, which is basically the class name that we want to add to the game, which is going to be a part like this. So as you can see, we can create a lot of instances, but what we want to create is a part in this one, and we have to put this new part equals game.workspace, just like this. We can add some more equals, and so now what we should see is if we go into the game, hit test inside of the workspace folder. So if we scroll down, then we can see the new used inside of script. Basically, go in the game, basically take these data types and use them as if they were instances within the game itself. It can show down here if we select it, so we can change this to, now we can do value, can be, I don't know what, you basically get the idea. So these are in an instance format, so it's not restricted to just having them be used inside of a script. And this is going to be important to know when we're going but now for objects that are currently within the game. So as you know, there's me that's in the game right now. And if we open up our player, there's 4 things here that's actually up bar. Then we have all of these things inside. So this is our player character, which is inside the workspace, and this is our player. We now know everything we need to make player stats. So what we're going to do now is go back to our script. I'm going to select everything and then delete it. So what we want to do is basically create a leader stats folder for every single player that joins into the game. And the way we're going to do that is, and we're going to pass in a player argument, and then we're going to hit enter, just like this. And what we need to do first is create a leader stats folder inside of each player so that whatever value we put inside of here is going to show up on the right side of the screen. So what we're going to do is add a folder called leader stats. So what we're going to do is say local leader stats equals instance.new, open and close parentheses. And what we're going to put inside of here is a folder. So this is the new instance we're going to create. And then what we're going to do is rename this folder that we just created. So we're going to say leader stats.name equals this parents should happen is we look at our player, and once we open this up, we can see that there's now a new leader stats folder instance that was put inside of this folder local. Now you have to look for the right value that we're trying to add here, which is going to be an int value in this case. So int value is basically just whole numbers that we're going to be using. So this is how we create it. And now what we're going to do is coins just like this. Equal value that we created. So like that. And now if we go into the game and hit play, then what we should see is our coins leader. If we were to see that it's checked, so I'm going to hit stop. second. What we can, while for any amount of time that can be like to do, is coins.value, and it's not the coins instance itself. The reason we do coins.value is because we're trying to set the value property to whatever it is that it's trying to perform arithmetic add on instance. So I'm going to hit Control Z twice so that we can have the coins.value again, and it was being incremented by 1 every single time. And that's basically what we wanted to do with this script. So that is basically how you use player stats inside of your game. For today's learning objective,
Oh, okay. I know what to do. Okay, it's on player stats, I guess. Okay, let's start again with another script, I guess. What? But what is it called? Convert? No, disable scripts. Yes, and we continue with this one. We make the tools Oh, we made the leader stats first. Okay. It's more like if you want to put the player stat, it's not right here. It's another set you gotta do in here. So gotta do in workspace, maybe in server service. Oh, local. Script again. Okay, we're just making it here. Just gonna make it in here, and yeah. Player 8 is to connect, and we make a function in here. Go here, and yeah, new dot instance. Call reader stats equals to instance dot new called folder. What else? Reader stats dot name equals to leader stats dot parents that's the player. Fuck. Loophole coins equals to instance.new coins. Coins.name equals to coins, and then we make the coins apply, right? And coins dot int coins dot value equals to 0. My god, I'm so unclass with this one. I'm sorry. I just want to make the UI, okay? So yeah, the UI. Coins later. Gue runnya I just run it locally though, like it's only run on TK bones. If
want you to do next thing we're gonna do.
just do it though.
Feels good. So ahlinya deh.
Why do so many people think it was at this little 9-year-old me? You were seeing games like Phantom Forces, Natural Disasters. I can barely run Roblox, I can barely run Studio. Okay, cool. So now.
Okay, thanks for stopping. Actually, make it do anything. So we're going to say local clicks equals int thus simply with a grid. So if we go back to our tool to do that's done, how many clicks the player clicks on the tool. Okay, so now what to do is play a sound whenever the tool a section us. So the next thing was to create a boolean to check if the player is holding down the very tool and the tool holding to true. But then and our last requirement is to use a while. And that's a true proving is to do a color, but the most familiar and then we're gonna color like time inside of it. And we cannot script in remote part. And what I mean by essentially different. So we're gonna say find first child, and then inside of here we're going to put in the name of the player. Now for me, it's Brawl Battle, but for you, it's probably a different profile name. So I would suggest changing this to yours. And then we're going to say leader stats clicks. And then remember, clicks is an int value, but we want to change the value, and it's how you do it. And I think this is basically our entire script. So let's go into the game created for the first. Our tool's pretty normal, but if we hold down our button, we can actually see that color is of the handle is 0 scale size 1, and we get a click as well because the scale our clicks are kind of stupid, but I mean it's still pretty cool to do. So that was basically your challenge for this video. If you were able to do it, then congratulations. So that's the basics of tools. I've gone over the general aspects of tools, but tools are definitely going to be something you will use as a Roblox game developer for your games. Almost any Roblox game you can think of will have tools in some sort of way, and there's so many different ways of implementing tools in schools for this episode.
Okay, I think I'm done. Because, yeah, I'm so tired right now. It's already 2 a.m. Yeah, we'll go to sleep, bruh. Okay, thank you. I guess I just learned one video. It's because this one video is so long. Oh, I'm gonna change it to I think I'm done with this. I'm so tired. Maybe we continue again tomorrow if I'm not tired. So yeah, thank you guys for watching and bye.